It's Thursday the 8th of April at 15 Kittiwake Close, and that's my back garden, and there is my little bedroom. And as night fell, Crispy and Phil arrived and we started planning Scarborough Scooter Rally 1982. And here's Crispy in my little bedroom, and there's me in my bedroom, just messing around. And then here's Phil. Now Phil is the guy that's planning the route to Scarborough. Now, before we go any further, we are now not called the Lowestoft Drifters, we are called the Lowestoft Scooter Club. And here is our patch. I'll get to that patch later on, because it's about the worst patch that's ever been made by any scooter club. Back in my bedroom, and a route had been planned from Lowestoft right up to Scarborough. And the plan was we'd meet at 6 a.m. Here I am in my little house. Right then I went all the way up Burnt Hill Way, this is a long way, all the way to Beckles Road, and there we are at the Esso station, and this is where the photograph was taken. So let our journey begin. So who was going on this little trip? First of all, we've got Richard Crisp, we've got Andrew Dawson, John Sharman, Phil Knights, then there's Jamie Hunt, me, and then there's Ray Walsh, and Matty, and of course who's not in the picture right now is little Dawn Newbury. One more photo shoot. Here we are again. From the left, as best to my knowledge, is Crispy, Ray Walsh. Down the bottom is Jamie. Then we've got, oh look at that, John Sharman with the very, very bad patch. There's me on the right next to John Sharman. Then there's Phil. Obviously Dawn's taking a photograph. Let's hit the road. So off we headed. Now everything was going really, really well. But then halfway we suddenly took a wrong turning. And I heard Richard shout, oh, I can't go on the motorway. I'm only still on L plates. And if a policeman see me, that's it. I'm gonna get pinched. And before we knew it, you guessed it, we heard a siren. It's a fucking mod with L plates. Let's get the bastard. And before you knew it, the policeman caught us up and pulled over Richard, so we pulled over as well, waiting for our friend. And the policeman said,
keep moving!
So not wanting to upset the police officer, we basically fucked off and left Richard on the side of the road with the policeman. So at the nearest junction we turned off, waiting for Crispy. And here he is turning up with a smile on his face. Well, he didn't have a smile on his face, but this is the only photograph we got. So off we went again, and I have to say at this point we had all 4 seasons on the way up. We went from winter to spring to summer to autumn, back into winter, all in one day. And while we were freezing cold at this point, yay, we got to Scarborough. Well, the meeting place where everyone stops for their photograph, and there our scooters are halfway down the bloody road, and us walked back up to have our photograph taken on that wall. And look at us, we look frozen, scarves, everything. After our little photo shoot, off we went again, and here we arrived at Scarborough to see scooters everywhere. We're gonna have a great weekend. Now we have to get priorities, don't we? And I said let's get to the pub, but no, John said we need to look at some of the scooters first. So here we are, just looking around at some of the scooters and that famous thing calf, and then wondering, secondly, girls, from the pub, girls, and I suppose we're gonna need to find somewhere to sleep. So the first box was ticked, and then we suddenly saw, before we were looking for a pub, Futuretta. What the hell was going on? This scooter was absolutely insane. You couldn't even get near it to take a proper photograph. So there we were, in awe of something completely different. But in the back of our minds, it was a pub. So we asked around a few people, And we bumped into some of these people from Middlesbrough, and they said, go to the White Horse, that's a good one, and they're scooter friendly. So off we trotted to the White Horse. On arriving at the White Horse, we bumped into a couple of girls, me and Phil did. So number 2 was sorted. There we were, and as luck would have it, they were staying at a B&B. So first night, beers, a shag and a warm bed. Super, this is heading for the best weekend ever. After a quick fondle the next morning with the girls, Phil and I ended up back down near the cafe and we met up with the lads. The lads not quite so happy as us because they slept in the cafe arches. So Saturday came and went. We had a look at a few scooters here and there and everywhere. We even had a few trips down the streets and having a look in the shops. It was buzzing everywhere. It was now back to our local evening where hopefully we're going to sell a few patches. Well, our shitty patch of course. But there we met a couple of locals, Bed and Barney. And then there's from Middlesbrough, Sue and Sean cuddling up together. And then of course we had Dino, Sharon and Dave. And there's us, the gang, together with some of the other guys. We're going to have such a smashing... Alright, we're going to get pissed, let's face it. We're going to get rat-assed tonight, just look at us. This is the night of all nights. And we've secured another shag with the girls. Or so we thought. The evening was going really well. The White Horse was buzzing. But I had a little problem. No, not down there. The problem was I had these 10 patches and I had the shittiest patch and I couldn't sell them to anybody. So my new best friend girlfriend with her lovely warm B&B said wait till near the end of the night when everyone's pissed and I'll walk round and I'll sell them. And she sold all 10 of them. And I wonder the next day when people woke up going, what the fuck is this pile of shit? Anyway, we're now heading back to the B&B, but now we're not on our own. John, Dowser and a few other people decided that they were going to come with us. So there we were walking towards our B&B and there was a load of mods up front. Now, this is where it got interesting because there was a load of skinheads went straight behind these mods. And then I saw a knife come out and swoosh of the knife. This poor guy with white stay pressers got slashed across his ass and there was blood everywhere. So we made a quick exit into our B&B, locked the door, and that was us settled for the night. Now, tomorrow is yet another day. So sun up and it's now Sunday morning. And I went down to the local cafe with Phil and John, where I got talking to this really nice skinhead. We had a good chat and a good laugh. Now I'm going to wind forward 2 weeks later, and here's the same skinhead. Not looking quite so nice as he did when he was in the cafe talking about reggae and ska. So, here we are off now. We're now going to look round. It's our last day to have some fun. By now, John had hooked up with this girl. Crispy had hooked up with this girl. And we had a look round town. We looked at scooters. There were scooters everywhere. And these particular 2 were my favourite. These little skellies, this blue and yellow one. Then there was these other ones. This one and that one. There were so many of them. And I didn't see Futuretta anymore. We were just buzzing away, knowing this was our last day in good old Scarborough. So a few more pints that lunchtime down our new local for the last time. Then a few more photographs here and there. There's me, John and Phil posing down the seafront. The girls had booked out of the B&B because they were going to go home that day, but they decided to hang around one more night with us. So there was only one place for it, and that was the Archers in the cafe. So Phil and I and the girls slept in our sleeping bags next to each other. Now, we can hear that old chant, we are the mods. We are the mods. We are the mods. The guy next to us, who's also a skinhead, say, quick, cover your head. They'll see we're skinheads. And before you knew it, They were ploughing into us. We are the mods, we are the mods. Bang, bish, bush. And there we did get a bit of a kicking in our sleeping bags. So that was a fun-packed evening with the fucking mods. So with a few bruises, the next morning Phil and I said goodbye to the girls and we headed off to find the guys. But in the meantime, I was so pissed off with the fucking young mods, I had this t-shirt printed at a local kiosk. Yep, I still own it to this day. Phil and I caught up with the guys and we had a chat about how we fought off 50 mods between the two of us. Well, little white lie. But now we had to plan the trip back. It's Monday morning blues and we're about to set off on the journey back to Lowestoft. So I took the trek up the hill, took one more photograph, and there by chance Crispy was jumping over the wall. Then there he is halfway up, and now we've got to head home. We said goodbye to the guys and girls from Middlesbrough, us Lowestoft Scooter Club, minus all them shitty patches, now met up outside the cafe, down in the car park, ready for our journey home. First of all, let's remind ourselves, Dawn was on the back of Ray Walsh, or Walshy. Jamie had Andrew Dawson on the back. I had Phil on the back and Crispy was riding solo on his cut down with his Snetterton seat. And John had Matty on the back. Now before we went off, Crispy said, "No more motorways for God's sake." And off we set, homeward bound to Lowestoft. And we hooked up to the A164. And over the Humber Bridge we went, and here we are going over the Humber Bridge. But this is us going over the Humber Bridge towards Scarborough because we got no photographs of us coming back on the Humber Bridge. So off we went, heading our way towards the ill-fated Lincoln. But before we got to Lincoln, there was one small crash, and that involved John Sharman going over his handlebars and boom, head through a fence. But off we carried on our way to ill-fated Lincoln. And Lincoln, here we came with a big bang. Because I'd just gone round the corner, I was up front, and then I felt my rear end go. No, not my rear end, the rear end on my scooter. And then I saw my back wheel bounce past and it hit a car on the other side of the road. And there I was, before I knew it, with Phil and I lying on the side on the middle lane of the road in Lincoln. After Phil and I had picked the scooter up and our wheel on the side of the road, I rang my stepfather and said I need picking up. And when I told him where I was, he blew a gasket.
Papa, that gun!
While waiting for my stepfather to turn up in his little orange van, here's a little opportunity for a photograph on the side of this road with Phil and Crispy, with my ill-fated wheel. So we hurdled Crispy's scooter in the back of the van along with mine because he'd had enough sitting on a Snetterton seat, and before you know it, we were back in Lowestoft. I rang John later that day and he said everyone got home okay, which was good. At least someone got home on their two wheels, and that was our weekend gone. And then tomorrow we had an inspection in the garage about what went wrong with my Punjabi scooter. So me and my little tin of tools took apart the engine, and there it is sitting on the floor. Then on the Saturday, a couple of arseholes turned up. I mean Phil on the right and Dawson on the left. And here you can see the bottom of the engine was scraped off and there is a bubble. And it was the ill-fated Punjabi land that actually caused the ill-fated crash all them years earlier. So a fight ensued between the mod and the skinhead. Okay, I'm only joking. And here's a photograph of us later and another one of us later. You know, we had such a good time at Scarborough Scooter Rally. We did have fun. We carried on as scooter boys, scooter skins, and the odd mod we kicked in. No, only joking. And life continued in Lowestoft with the Lowestoft Scooter Club and our really shitty patch.
Out of bed at 8 a.m. Out my head by 10:30. Out with mates and dates and friends. That's what I do at weekends.